ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं हरि ओम् सुभाषितरत्नं यथाचारं यथा शास्त्रं यथा चित्तं यथा स्थितं व्यवहारमुपादत्ते यस्य आर्य इति स्मृतः. 1 who leads a perfect life as per the path directed by the code of ethics, both bodily as well as mentally, and is sincere and appropriate, is called Arya or cultured. Never deviate a hair's breadth from truth, duty, and good conduct. This is true spiritual life. Swami Tapovan Maharaj. May all the potential love in you be turned to Him who is ever in your heart, in your own heart, enlivening everything for you. Swami Chinmayananda. The most divine of all desires is indeed a selfless thirst to serve the world. Swami Chinmayananda. The most difficult thing in this world is keeping quiet. We are always up to something. Our choice is what motivates us to act. It is due to the egocentric selfish desires that we act in the world outside. Consequence of our action is normally to acquire an object, relationship, etc. in the world outside. Thus, most of us act in the world outside. Because of it is only the rare few who act in spite of. What do we mean by this? Actions can emanate either from a sense of incompleteness or from a sense of fulfillment. From a vast majority of us, actions arise due to this sense of incompleteness. Consequently, a desire which arises, hoping that we become complete after the action. A rare few act out of a sense of fullness, not to fulfill desire, but for the welfare of society. The action arises not from ego, but from compassion, seeking no applause, only the joy of giving. In a world driven by ambition, acquisitions, etc., there exist ambition, acquisitions, etc. There exists a rare desire, a selfless thirst to serve. Unlike the cravings that arise from the ego, this longing springs from the soul. It is the most divine of all desires. True service does not require a stage. It does not wait for ideal conditions. It begins where we are, our homes, profession, etc. Spiritual traditions across the world have long upheld a selfless service. It is called by different names in different religions and languages. Seva in Sanskrit, Kara Seva in Sikhism, Agape love in Christianity. These are reminders that the path to the divine is paved not with grand rituals but with humble acts of care. In choosing to serve the world with no motive but love. We align with something greater than individual identity. We begin to live not as isolated beings, but as instruments of peace. The most divine of all desires is not to be served, but to serve with a heart wide open and a spirit free from self. For a genuine spiritual seeker, the path is not just about awakening, it is also about compassionate action. While meditation, spiritual study deepen and the inner life, it is selfless service that gives wings in the world. This kind of seva is worship. Service becomes a means to transcend the ego and dissolve the illusion of separateness. The Dhammapada reminds us if one lights a lamp for another, it will also brighten one's own path. Mahatma Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Service need not always be grand. Listening deeply to someone in pain, showing kindness to a stranger, etc. When one operates from agape, actions are guided by a sincere desire for the well being of others, regardless of their status, behavior, or ability to reciprocate. Agape love is the selfless thirst to serve the world. It is love in action, an expression of divinity through selfless service. Wangari Maathai was a Kenyan environmentalist, political activist, and humanitarian who became a global symbol of selfless service to humanity and the planet. Her life and work were deeply rooted in the desire to serve others, marginalized communities through environmental restoration and women's empowerment. Wangari Maathai. Maathai launched the Green Belt movement to combat deforestation, soil erosion, and water scarcity in rural Kenya. She also believed that environmental problems were closely tied to social issues, particularly oppression of women. Wangari was arrested, beaten, jailed multiple times for standing up against corruption, land grabbing, and environmental destruction by Kenyan government. She became the first African woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Wangari Maathai's work resulted in the planting of over 50 million trees in Africa. Her legacy lies in proving that ordinary people, especially women, can transform the world through small, consistent, and selfless actions. She once said, it is the little things citizens do that will make the difference. My little thing is planting trees. Live and preach. Swami Chinmayananda. A doctor cannot cure unless he can show the patient from where to procure the medicine prescribed for him. Even the best chef in the country cannot remove our hunger unless he has cooked to taste and made the dinner ready. Dreams are give Dreams can give only a vague sense of joy, but cannot offer any actual dividend of happiness to the dreamer. However learned the Pandit may be, he cannot buy his preaching deliver the listener from his nameless sorrows and painful sighs. Yet we can Christ consoles. Just we find Christ consoles his age. Buddha uplifts a group of his devotees to the highest peak of Nirvana. Sri Ramakrishna fathers the spiritual aspirants of his time. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thrills his era with his divine songs of the Lord and makes even educated skeptics dance in a maddening ecstasy. The Kashmir Pandit, the Benares Vidwan, the Kerala Nambudripad, the Madrasi Shastri, and the Chidambaram Dikshitar all can pour out their knowledge and fatten the head of their listeners, but they fail to touch the deeper chords in their students. All of them are learned. They repeat the orthodox Vedic declarations. Their grammar is perfect, pronunciation exquisite, but alas, they only benumb the listener's spiritual fire and deaden the appetite to live and the enthusiasm to experience the latter killed. Our group leaders and members must carefully avoid becoming mere pedantic scholars or mere intellectual inquirers. No doubt, intellectual arguments can temporarily yield an applause of appreciation, but this spurt of inward joy will soon disappear. Ideas repeated in the mind grow as dull jokes heard and repeated by the same person for the tenth time. And yet, all masters have the same song to sing, the same truth to express, but they somehow never grow weary. On the other hand, at each repetition from the lips of the masters, these ancient ideas spring up and dance with a new vivacity. When they express these immortal ideas, they seem relive as fresh and young as ever before. But the same ideas, when vomited by pundits who have but consumed them voraciously, gather up ugly stink. Members of the Chinmay mission must therefore learn the art of dressing their learned ideas with a glow of strength and beauty of exuberance. The secret of giving this mysterious touch of life to ideas lies in practice. Live morality before you talk of it. Practice meditation before you preach it. Taste goodness before you recommend it. Gain bliss before you offer it to others. Be regular and sincere. Be cheerful and content. Be noble and loving. Be peaceful and serene yourself before you can advise others to be so. One must live the truth before one can declare it. One must be a perfect Shishya before one can hope to be a real Guru. Be a true student before you aspire to teach. 1,000 learned Pandits in 100 years can bring about only what perhaps a true teacher is in a wink can, with a smile accomplish in his devotees around him. Be ever such a spiritual giant, so that in your overflowing dynamism, unknown to yourself, scores of your friends become unconsciously reclaimed, mysteriously transformed, and divinely spiritualized. This is the greatest magic of all, the godly magic that discovers a god man hiding behind every average man. What we have done so far is but a modest beginning to the real beginning of a cultural revival in our country. Even here, we find that our path is not smooth. The flow of enthusiasm in us is not steady. The consistency of purpose in us dies off each hour. We still need a lot more of spiritual vigor to strengthen ourselves and a greater share of selfless heroism to close our ranks. If we are to serve in a peaceful army of re- revivalists, cultural revival is never a sudden destructive revolution, but it is ever a steady constructive evolution to inspire the masses to lit up their clubs and strike at each other can be easily achieved, but to force them through love and tenderness to lay down their clubs and to make them walk steadily towards a peaceful communal growth through a conscious moral awakening is no easy task. The farmer needs but some fiery speeches, a demonstration of some militant parades, a few new weapons, and a vague, even if false, promise of some immediate profit. The lower in us can easily be invoked, can readily be brought out to strike at and destroy everything around it. The latter is a divine achievement, a spiritual miracle, a staggering flight into evolution's own peak, to scrape off the clogs of imperfections and bring out our own native glow is a hard way for the average. The leaders who come forward to inspire their generation for this moral self upliftment must themselves be morally strong, spiritually evolved, ethically good. They must have endless patience, deathless love, inexhaustible cheer, and immeasurable goodness. Satsang way by Swami Swarupananda. Swamiji Manish Jain by Manish Jain. Swamiji will learn about living through honest means, sensitive to the needs of society and the environment, contribute to society both financially and by doing seva. Our endeavor is to give more to the world than we get from it. We try not to harm anyone, but we do not read any scriptures and do not pray to a image of God. We believe in a higher power but do not meditate. Mostly we are content and happy. Please guide us. Are we living in the right manner? Swami Swarupananda, very good. The way you are living is way the scriptures have taught. If you are living it, you do not need to read that part of scripture which guides us about right living. This may be due to your upbringing, your friends, your culture. So, what you are doing is very good. These are the external practices prescribed by the scriptures and taught by our culture and family traditions which are noble. We have been brought up in such a manner that we perform good actions and the result is a sense of well-being, satisfaction and so on. However, remember that the results of all actions, even good ones, are only temporary in and through the process of performing righteous actions. We must seek the ethereal, what we believe as God. Seek what is eternal, permanent, and unchanging. Don't just remain at the level of belief, come to know it. Believing in God and knowing God are two different things, are two very different things. If you believe in God, your belief can be shattered. But if you know the God directly, know the truth directly, it can never be shattered. The higher books of spirituality give us that knowledge which cannot be grasped with the mind in this changing, ephemeral life. Situations are not always conducive. When these suddenly become adverse and we are unable to fathom the reason, our beliefs can be weakened. But the faith born of right knowledge and understanding is never shaken. You must read the scriptures not just for the sake of reading them, but to reflect on them, imbibe their teachings, and apply them in your day to day living. They should be read again and again. We in doubt, the teaching helps you to determine the correctness of an action. Continue to live a righteous life of service and sharing. But there is more to life than that. That this is what Adi Shankaracharya points out. Bhajagovindam nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvat jivitam atishaya chakalam. Life is life is as transitory and fragile as a water drop quivering on a lotus petal. Therefore, we must seek and know God, the finite and eternal, even though you may not pray to a particular form of God. Love Him, adore Him, and be grateful to Him, whatever way you know Him. Contemplation, commonly termed as meditation, is to remove erroneous notions about what or whom to contemplate on. Since we are not even aware that we have any flawed conceptions, do not appreciate the importance of meditation. The erroneous notion is I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, I am this individuality, I am good, I am bad. These notions bring only temporary results. Therefore, seek something higher and unlock the treasure of qualities that lies within you. That is why Shankaracharya exhorted Bhajo Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Study Bhajo Govindam and reflect on its instructions. Understand why Shankaracharya urges us to seek the higher. Life itself is temporary. Opportunities come and go. That which is favorable can it the blink of an eye can in the blink of eye turn into something unfavorable. Adverse situations confront us even when we do good. At that time can we sustain our goodness? This is the question we have to ask ourselves. The spiritual facet of our personality cannot and must not be ignored. If the purpose of our life is to seek Govinda, then why did God create this world to distract us from Govinda? Padmatai. Why do you create a nursery for your children? You create a play area for them to enjoy. You also tell them that if they play together in the spirit of Yajna, they will enjoy themselves. As long as the children play and are enjoying themselves, the mother continues to do her work. Then one of the children grabs a toy and the other child starts fighting for it. The third child says, "Enough of this play. I only want my mother." He cries and holds out his hands for her. The mother comes rushing and picks up the child. She keeps him in her secure lap where no one else can come and threaten him. The mother gives toys not for her joy or satisfaction, but for the children to fight with each other, not for the children to fight with each other, but for them to enjoy themselves. However, one day the child feels he has had enough of all this strife and struggle and wants only the mother. Likewise, God created the world for you and exhaust your desires. Stop desiring the play world with its glittering objects and enchanting pleasures for which so many people are competing. If you want to get out of the world, cry out to Him. Punarapi jananam punarapi maranam punarapi janani jఠरे शयनम यह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते. The same Lord who gave you the toys of the world, for which started fighting and quarreling, is ready to pick you up. You have to ask for it. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Sometimes well-meant efforts with good intentions produce unforeseen adverse effects. How do we cope with this? Tara K. It is important to understand that the results come according to your actions and intentions, but it is also governed by multiple laws of nature. There is a difference between a good intention, good action, and right action. Your intention may be good, but action that you do may be wrong for the situation and can bring contrary results. Consider this. You are on a flight, you are sitting with your child or next to someone else's child. There is a sudden drop cabin pressure and the oxygen must come down. As a loving part, good Samaritan, your first concern will be for the child, no doubt. It is a good thought to put the child's safety above your or as own, but the instructions clearly tell us to first put on our own mask and then attend to another, because if in the process of putting the mask on the child you faint, you cannot save that child. So there is a right way of doing things. If somebody is trapped in a building on fire, a fireman knows how to protect himself and save the person in the fire. You, however, in panic, with good intentions, jump into the fire, risk your life, and get severely burnt, even though your intention was to save someone. Fire knows only to burn. It does not see your intention. It has its law. Therefore, We can only do our best, and whatever results we get in the best is the best for us. It may not be what we wanted, but it is best for us. Remember, when we perform an action, we get two results. One is a physical result, and the other is at the mental level. For instance, when you do an action with good intent, you experience an inner sense of well being. But if something is done with wrong intentions, even if you get the desired result, external results, you will feel a certain degree of unhappiness. Hence, the important factor is the motivation, the intention behind an action. If the intention is good and you have acted to the best of your capacity, the result of such an action is a feeling of well being within yourself. That feeling of peace and contentment is itself the result. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु